Welcome to More Details, Please, with your hosts Emmanuel and Angela Williams, where we dive deeper into conversations with visionary entrepreneurs to discover what it takes to turn passion into purpose. Listen to real-world stories from self-starters and trailblazers, and discover strategies and innovations shaping a greener future. Whether you are a seasoned business person or just starting out, let this be your go-to resource for inspiration and actionable tips for success. Join us now as we create a brighter, greener future together.
Welcome to More Details, Please. I'm Angela Williams.
And Emmanuel Williams.
And today we're continuing the theme of innovation and technology. But today we want to focus specifically on trust and transparency, which is absolutely important when you're talking about technology itself, because people tend to trust you a bit more if you tell them, hey, I'm using AI, versus you try to pretend that you're not. Right, Emmanuel?
Absolutely. And this podcast is really for entrepreneurs that love to turn their passion into purpose. And we believe that that is so critical in these days and times that we're living in, that we use our gifts and talents to uplift and inspire and encourage, and at the same time, make a living and enjoy our journey. And so this podcast is really about us sharing our nuggets of wisdom and having wonderful guests come on that is entrepreneurs that can tell you the ups and the downs and the highs and the lows, and able to share their knowledge and able to be a tool in this world so that people can smile, so that we can be kind to each other, so that we can share. And that's really what this is all about. And I think that this is a very key component of helping to heal our planet.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to welcoming our guest, photographer Robin Gamble. She has a studio in Detroit and she loves telling stories through her lens. So, really excited to hear her perspective on technology and how things work. And because she is a marketeer by nature, we'll be able to pick her brain a little bit about marketing versus branding and marketing versus PR and all that kind of stuff, because she's an expert in that space. So we were reading something recent that was quite intriguing. There was a article in business and about business and tech. I can't remember the actual magazine that it was from, but what it said is people don't mind you they don't mind that we use AI, but they hate to feel like it was hidden from them. So it's like everybody had an avatar for a while. It's like, all right, once in a while, everybody's using it, it's AI. But if every picture that I take is an AI picture, then it's like, all right, really know who that person is. Now imagine that in business. If everything you do feels like it is AI, but you don't tell people it is, then they start to distrust that. And we know a lot of that's happening in music right now.
Well, one of the things when I listened and thought about this subject, one of the things that I thought about was transparency and trust. Those are two words that I think is very important that we not only can apply to technology, but we can also apply to our business as business person within our business. And transparency means to be able to see clearly. That's what transparency means. And trust is your ability to trust a process where you can see clearly, which is transparency, to take that next step of faith. That's trust. So today in this conversation, we always try to dig a little deeper. That's why we say more detail, please. And that's why we have this marketing guru on our show so that we can go deep in the psyche of marketing. We can go deep in the psyche of technology. We can go deep in the psyche of transparency. And when I say psyche, what I means is how do people process what they see? So those are some of the topics that we're going to be touching on, going deeper into this conversation when it comes to marketing and transparency and technology.
Yeah, so check this out. The business And Tech Trends report for 2026 says that two-thirds of consumers would switch brands if the company intentionally conceal AI's involvement in their experience. I mean, two-thirds, that's a lot. That's a lot of people. So trust and transparency is definitely important. The report also highlighted the fact that they want clear explanations of how their data is used, which we all do. Every time we sign up for something free, or if you do this right now, you'll get 10% off. We want to know how our data is used. We want to definitely ensure that our data is not being sold, but we want to know how it's used. It's the option of removing their data, which is also important. Given that option, when I show up on somebody's email marketing list, my first thing is, did I sign up for this? And if I didn't sign up for it, then yeah, if they found me and it's a good match, maybe I won't immediately unsubscribe. But if not, I immediately unsubscribe because I didn't sign up for that. And I really want to know how you got my contact information and you started to send it to me. People also says understanding the fact that technology does benefit them makes it okay, but they want the chance to opt in or opt out. So it all comes back to trust.
Well, we're talking about transparency. That is a person's ability to see and to be able to see clear. We're talking about trust, a person's ability to feel comfortable with stepping into something new, stepping outside their comfort zone. But we also want to incorporate belief, because belief is very important in you being able to feel comfortable enough to trust the process to step outside your comfort zone. And belief is a really interesting dynamic as well. It's a word that a lot of people use, but I want to go a little bit deeper into belief because as we start to string these words together and apply them to the marketing and the technology, what you're doing is you're not just listening to words, but you are actualizing a way of doing something um, in a way where you feel comfortable, where you're going to make the right decisions for yourself. Whether you're a consumer, whether you're a business person, whether you are a husband or a father or a neighbor, these are some very important dynamics that we're talking about that you can use and apply to your life. So when we talk about belief, we're talking about a story really that you tell yourself. The thoughts that is floating around in your head based on what you say you believe, is that really belief? Or is belief something that how you react to a situation in the moment? For an example, you could say, I am a great business person and I treat my customers and my employees with utmost respect. But you walk in the office the Monday morning and somebody asks you something and you totally disrespect them and have no regards to what they're feeling or what the situation is because you are quote unquote the boss. Does that mean that you are good business? Does that mean that your belief that you said that you're a good business person? Is it true? Well, what's true when it comes to belief? Not the stories you tell yourself, but how do you react? Or how do you respond to the moment? If you react, a lot of times we're reacting from a place of our ego. We're reacting from a place of the stories we tell ourselves in which we believe. And at the end of the day, it's all about getting good results from your behavior, from your practices, from your belief. If your belief is that you are a good business person and you fair to your employees and you fair to your business, well, when something happens, then you're going to respond in a way where you're going to take into consideration the whole. You're going to respond from a place of love. You're going to respond from a place of compassion as opposed to reacting from a place of fear. So belief has everything to do with you're constantly being aware of the decisions that you make as you walk through the process. So that's belief. So when it comes to technology, when it comes to marketing, your belief factor has to be based on, in order for you to get the good results, based on how do you react or respond to this moment to get the best out of your situation and to improve it for the good of the whole.
So again, this all comes back to trust. Consumers, they don't mind the use of AI, and we all realize that AI is not perfect at this point and will never be perfect because there's still that human dynamic that we would have to address. But the report did mention that more than half are excited about AI powered services and they're willing to accept some of the flaws that's currently in it. So, what matters most is they feel included and kept informed. So, as Emmanuel talked about earlier, the main takeaway is that transparency is not a bonus. It is a requirement. It is part and key to the customer experience. So while people understand technology and that it's going to be used, they are much more likely to support it if they are a part of the process, informed, and transparency exists. So be open with your customers. That's the backdrop with all that.
And so, what we've been talking about today is transparency, our ability to see clear. We're talking about technology, the ability to use technology and to apply it to your business in a way where you can get great results. We've been talking about branding, your ability to be able to create a image in a way where people feel good and feel comfortable, where you can get results from your clients based on what perception are you projecting. We talked about belief. Belief is a behavior. It's not what the stories you tell yourself that you say you believe is a behavior. It's how you react. I mean, are you going to react like out of fear, or are you going to react, or are you going to respond out of love? That is how, and the action that is taken as a result of that belief is really what your truth belief is. But then I want to go take this next word, which I think kind of bring everything together in full circle, which is faith, which is faith. And when we talk about technology, when we talk about business, when we talk about growing our business, when we talk about being an entrepreneur, when we're talking about marketing our business, how do faith fits into all of these things as we pull all of these different dynamics, which is really important together. And when I start thinking about faith, I think faith is your ability to step outside your comfort zone, right? To step out, go into do something that's different, but focus your belief and continue to apply the lessons that you've learned through transparency. Okay. I'll say that again because it's kind of pulling all of this stuff together because at the end of the day, it's really about being an empowered you. And if faith in terms of dealing with your business, growing your business, marketing your business, is your ability to step outside your comfort zone, which means you're open to learning. We're constantly evolving. We're constantly growing as individuals. And when you stop or when you believe that you know it all, then that's when you start to regress. So faith is your ability to constantly step outside your comfort zone. And your belief is if you got faith in your belief, then what you believe, you're going to continue to apply that belief based on your faith and continue to apply that belief by applying the lessons learned through transparency to get the results that you want. Now, we can talk about all of this together. But at the end of it, based on your belief, faith, transparency, and your ability to understand, at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, are you getting the results that you want? That's really what it all comes down to. So you can believe whatever you want to believe. But are you getting the end result that you want when it comes to technology, business, and growing your business? So I just kind of wrap this whole conversation around transparency, faith, belief, technology, and stepping outside your comfort zone and trying to pull it together so that we can have an in-depth conversation and just not just surface business conversation.
Well, I'm sure our guest is going to engage in that because she can talk all about brand. But let's get into the details of transparency. We're talking about transparency in business. Let's take an example. Think about the automated booking system that you use to schedule your spa treatment or to have your car repaired or detailed, like detail experts. You go online, you schedule an appointment, and you get an instant confirmation. That feels efficient. It feels rest assuring. It feels assuring that, yep, I did that right. I've made an appointment and now I'm going to be taken care of through the service. But only if it's clear, only if that automated booking process is clear. And if you're uncertain if the booking actually went through, if it was actually confirmed for the right time, that same system that seems so efficient can become very frustrating. That's why you also need strong customer service, something that every successful company should prioritize. We certainly do that at Detail Experts. But let's talk a little bit about chatbots. Now, I'm going to tell you my latest experience with Meta using a chat box. Every time I go online, the Meta chat box start talking to me. Hey, I'm ready to help you with your issue. Now, at first, I thought, wow, they are so efficient because they weren't like that before. You have a issue with Meta and you do a trouble ticket and it like takes forever for somebody to respond. But literally every time I go on, they're asking me, hey, you ready to talk about your issue? And the way you submit your issue, a chat box response said, well, I don't know if I can help you with that, but let me just take a look at this, running an analysis. And now I realize it's a chat box that I have been talking to and not a technical or support expert. Now, do I mind necessarily? No, but because part of my answer did get solved. But there was the second part of it where it said schedule a meeting with a pro. So that's the part that you can't leave out is that super customer service that maybe the chat box can get me so far, but it's not the total answer. I'll give you another example. With our customer relationship management system, we have a new friend. His name is James. He is not a chat box, but we found him from using the chat box. We asked all the questions that we could, and they keep pointing us to articles or where we can get the answer, et cetera. So you're just following down this rabbit hole. And then it gets to the point, well, this is not answering my question. And eventually, James, who offered exceptional customer service, was able to take us the rest of the way through. So I think there are ways that you can use technology like automated booking tools and chat boxes to move forward, but you got to remember it still does not replace that human touch and it can only go so far. They'll continue to get smarter, but you still need that human touch, that human spark to make it real.
Well, I give you a personal experience based on our company and our success when it comes to technology, because a lot of times technology is not just about computers. Technology is just discovering new ways of doing things. And a lot of times, because this technological age that we're living in is so much computers and images that is constantly bombarding us, we tend to lose the human touch. And the human touch is the most important and powerful way of marketing yourself and building relationship with your client. And I think with our company, Detail Expert, that is the reason why we was able to be global and to grow our business the way that we have been able to grow our business because of the human touch. Now, the technology was it was simple technology, but it was powerful, and the simplicity of technology is the brilliance and the geniuses of technology. Simplicity is geniusness. And what we have been able to do is turn the car washing industry upside down. Was an industry where people just looked down on it like, oh, okay, well, they just washing cars or whatever. But we was able to come up with simple technology as a result of that and to revolutionize the car washing industry in ways that have never been done before. And I believe that our ability to be able to touch the client, our ability to be able to display a way of cleaning cars where we're saving water, where we dressed up in a concierge kind of way, where we bring our trucks and where the patent pending concept of cleaning a car, where people like literally look at us like for entertainment because they be like, well, where's the water? My car is clean, but all this steam is in the air and all of this. And then at the end of the day, when the steam clear up, the car's clean. There's no water on the ground. You got these guys cleaning cars with bow ties on, and you right in a person's driveway, and it's steam cleaned and it's sanitized. And they be like, wow, how did you do that? So that is like technology, but not only is it technology to the touch, I mean, technology to the vision, but it's also technology in terms of building relationships because a lot of times our technology develop great relationships with the client. They give them lemonade. They go outside. It's like, do y'all need anything? And they see how hard the guys are working. And that's why transparency. See, when people see what they're getting, so if we would have took that car and took it behind closed doors and it can't brought it back and it was clean and they were satisfied with it, that's one thing, but they didn't see. But when they see the technology, the hard work, the effort, and building a relationship with humans that is actually out there, cleaning cars and making sure that their client is getting the best quality service, that right there, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to branding, when it comes to building connection, that is what it's really all about. And these entrepreneurs nowadays, you got to be careful not to get lost in the technology and lose yourself in terms of building a relationship with your clients. Also, I would say this, you got to do that in your relationship. You got to do that with your kids, in your relationship with your kids. You can't just be gone and work all day long and sit your kid in front of a computer and a television and give them and buy them things to justify you not being there. The results that you're going to get is the results that you're going to get when it comes to losing that connection and that human touch. Same thing in your relationship with your spouse. You can't just be you look over there looking at TV and she over there looking at the computer. Y'all don't even communicate with each other anymore. Y'all don't even know each other anymore. You think you know each other because you together, but you really not together. So this whole concept of technology, innovation, faith, trust, belief, building transparency, building relationship, just doesn't apply with an image that you're trying to project so that you can get people to give you money. This thing applies in every aspect of your life. That's why being an entrepreneur is just not being an entrepreneur trying to make money. It's really about becoming a better you and growing and evolving and having a balance in your life so that you can enjoy the journey and not get stuck in a belief of, I'm going to either react out of fear based on my behavior patterns, or I'm going to respond out of love and joy. That is the question today.
That was a lot, but you summed it up because when we use AI in our communication on a daily basis, it impacts what people see, how they value us. It impacts our brand overall. So we do want to make sure that we're focused on tone because how something is presented, we know how it's presented verbally to the ear, but then when you are using AI technology to communicate, you want to make sure that your tone is correct as well, because that will impact your brand. What I want to do before we bring our guests on, just a little bit about technology itself. Technology makes things clearer and it also makes things easier. But if technology is not explained in a clear way or delivered in a clear way, it can become frustrating, which makes people feel confused or ignored. So we want to make sure that whenever we're using any form of technology, that human dimension comes into place. And technology is different from software. It's the small details, like how we explain. It's introduced and it is supported. So technology is one of those things that you have to keep in mind. What I would like to do as we get ready to introduce our guest, because I'm so excited and I don't want to keep her waiting much longer. So please join us in welcoming our guest, Robin Gamble. She's a professional photographer and a brand consultant, and she also offers public speaking, coaching, and photography lessons. So, Robin, please join us.
Hey, what up, though?
Hey, what up, though? See, I love that. That's a true Detroiter right there. All right.
Love it.
So, Robin, tell us about yourself and your business So our listeners can kind of understand what it is that Robin is doing.
Yeah. So started the business 2019. I've always been a storyteller, always had a camera, but didn't know what I was doing. I happened to shoot my sister's wedding, and when I came back and looked at the photos, I was like, "Oh, those are good." And I'm about to start this business. Oh, yeah, I started it, didn't know what I was doing, then the pandemic happened, and I had an opportunity to teach. So I started teaching photography. So as I taught the students, I was learning, but the whole time I still was booking clients and making money, but I didn't know what I was doing at all. I'm surprised that the pictures came out as good as they did, but you have to have an eye. So fell in love with that, fell in love with telling a story, and it kind of just evolved from there. I have a consulting company anyway, and the reason why I said, "Ooh, photography makes sense because everybody needs visuals." And then now it's like, okay, I've been doing this for a while, so now it's like, how do I pivot and scale my business more, which is now PR, really focusing on branding and marketing so that people get their messages across.
Wow, that was great. So in some ways, it's mirrored with your existing consulting business, but you kind of fell into it.
Yeah, I fell into it because that was like a need.
Mhm.
They just didn't have any visuals, so I can come in there. So what I was doing, I was coming into your business, letting you know everything that's wrong and then fixing it, kind of like the doctor.
Mhm.
And but still they still needed visuals to tell their story. Maybe they had good online presence, but their social media wasn't great. Their website looked good, but then it didn't match what they're posting on social. So I kind of just fell in love with that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start telling these stories.
It's interesting that you said that branding is a part. So we talked about customers and we talked about how we interact with them. Our employees provide the services to our customers. So in part, we talked about them. But that other layer of the conversation is brand. So as we talked about off camera, whether we realize it or not, the way we use technology shapes the way people see us, our brand. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so branding is your story, right? It's your logos, it's your tone, it's your colors, it's your values, it's everything that you want to project to somebody that wants to buy what you're not selling, right? So I never try to sell anything. I just try to just say, this is what I do. If you like it, give me a call. So your brand is really that. When it comes to marketing, it is you bringing people in, like, come buy this. You're running ads, you're doing emails, you're telling people, come over here and buy this product. And then PR is just protecting the brand, going on interviews, doing, podcasts, all of those things, but protecting the brand so that it's credible and so people can trust it. So all of those things do align with marketing and branding, but you got to know what your brand is and who you are.
Robbins, I got a question. I really admired your story, and I am old school, if you will. I love music.
Hmm.
I'm jazz guy, R&B, and I grew up on the Motown sound. I grew up in the music. It was emotion.
Hmm.
In the music, it was I was motivated through listening to music, inspiration, that deep connection helped me to be inspired. And then when videos came along, there was the image. And now you have the music more so, and you have the image that goes with that music. And it's really, I think in marketing, it's really important to have a balance because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is move and motivate people in a way to be inspired by your story. But at the same time, you don't want to over bombard them with the image where they lose the motivation. How do you balance the storytelling piece and the physical images so that it can have that balance so that you can get that result that you want from your clients that you're um
It is all literally just storytelling. So you have to mix it up. You got to give people, oh, I'm drinking coffee this morning. I put hazelnut in my coffee this morning. I have this type of coffee maker. People want to know, what you did when you got up, what's your regimen. And so what I do is I just mix it up. I'm silly sometimes, then I'm like, oh, hey, look at this. this is what I did today. I took these, photos. So I try to give people a little bit of me, a little bit of what I do, but I'm not selling nothing. I might run a
Mhm.
special or give
Mhm.
a discount or offer somebody something for free, but I'm never selling anything. So I think that's how I have the balance, because it's more of like a lifestyle that people are watching on, social media versus me constantly saying, buy this, book this, do that. Because people don't want that. They're
No.
gonna, if they want my service, they're gonna call me. So they really just like the silliness. They don't care about my pictures. You know what I mean? You think like I'm like, oh, I nailed this one. This was a killer shoot. And then they don't care. They want to see what I was doing yesterday. So
So let's talk about culture then. Let's talk about you having a client where you're trying to tap into a certain culture,
mhm.
trying to understand the mindset and the mentality of that culture and what moved that culture to create a relationship with the branding based on the company that you are helping to create these images from, marketing images. So, for an example, just say if you have a Korean um, client, Koreans, I don't know the nature of a lot of the things that they do by nature based on what they have understood growing up and the images and the conditionings that they have been imposed on to move them to motivate. But in my thinking, being that you are a person that deals with imaging and marketing, is really all about understanding your client and how to move them in a way by telling a story and creating images so that they can't patronize you and so that you can get their dollar.
Yeah, I have a lot of clients that I've had to, sit down because they're doing all the things wrong. And you really have to cater to who's watching you. It's who is following you and what they want. So, like, for example, I have a client that has like 4 different brands. She's an attorney, estate planning attorney. She's got a clothing store. And then she's got a podcast. And so, for it, she's got a nonprofit. So she's got all these different things. And I was like, well, you really do have a brand. She's got like a nice, saucy type of personalities for her personal brand, for her estate planning, her law firm. She's attorney Riri. So she's spilling the tea on estate planning. She's spilling the tea on the courtroom. She's spilling the tea on how to, close a deal, all these things that pertain to her business. And so that's one brand. You know what I mean? So I just have a lot of clients that don't know what the heck is going on, but I try to steer them in the right direction so that they can cater to who's following them. And people like, they like professional people, but they also like for them to be real, and
Yes.
then we have, this AI thing that you guys were talking about. It's great, right? But AI can't, come to your event and capture you while you're speaking. And you got to learn how to use AI the right way, like for automation and for, obviously you can have it for a speech or a response or whatever, but and I use AI for plans and things like I can use it all. It can all look great, but you have to be able to do it. A
Mhm. Mhm.
plan, you know what I mean? Like you have to be able
Yeah.
to activate the plan and actually do it. So just back to the culture, it's just, really honing in on who's following you and see what people like. And each platform is different. You gotta, for me, Instagram is just my lifestyle. I'll throw in a couple photography, Facebook's funny stuff, TikTok. My son was killed in 2022, so I have to talk about death all the time now. And then I've tried different things, but that doesn't work. So each platform is different and algorithms and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
So when you have a brand new client that came to you and they want your branding advice, what are the one or two questions that you start with?
I asked them, what is your brand?
Mhm.
What are you trying to sell but not sell? That's one of the questions. And then breaking down, like, what is the goal of your business? What am I going to get? I think a lot of times people have an idea, but they don't know how to deliver the idea to their audience or their client, or a business idea, and it doesn't really make sense. So I just try to break down what's the goal and what is it that you want to do and what do you want people to get, are my first questions.
That's so interesting because we've experienced business owners or entrepreneurs at every level. And for entrepreneurs that have been in business for a while and don't really believe they have a brand, it's always an interesting conversation.
Yeah. I'm like, I mean, I got a brand and I branded myself. I have not run an ad. I can run some ads, but I haven't run an ad. It's word of mouth. When people post the pictures and tag me, that's my campaign right there. It does a lot. So yeah, it's just yeah.
So, Robert, why is it important psychologically to have a brand?
So that you can set yourself apart from everybody else because everybody's different because it's yours. Yeah.
And that's the part I think most people forget. It's like, oh, so I'm in the cleaning business. I know 1,000 other cleaning business companies. But if
Yeah.
that's how you present yourself is just like a resume, then you're no different. But what sets you apart? What's your unique selling proposition in that way? How you're going to present yourself differently to stand out in that same way.
Yeah. And I think that I do stand out. I would say I'm obviously not just a photographer, but people
Hmm.
know me as that.
Hmm.
People don't take long enough to tap into other things that I do because I don't heavily promote that because it's just me.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm
Yep.
running, I got like 8 clients. I run all their socials. I got schools. It's just a lot. But I feel that, I give my clients my time. I listen, I'm patient, and I'm fair and I'm transparent, especially about price. I think that's one thing that, somebody says, "Oh, hey, can you come out and shoot this? I got an event for an hour. Okay, you want me to do video. Okay, what do you want me to do? You want a recap? Do you want, voiceover? Well, that 1 hour for them turns into 4 hours for me. So I'm
Yes.
very transparent about, yeah, I can come out shooting. It's easy. But when I get home, I gotta download it. I gotta listen to it. I gotta upload it into the editing software. And then I have to create this story with no
Hmm.
direction because nobody knows what they want.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
they have no idea what they want. So I'm very transparent about that because it's my time. You got 55 different subscriptions you got to have. It's just and editing takes time.
I believe that branding is very powerful. That a lot of things about branding, people, I think I'm going to bring this to this conversation that people needs to understand. It's not by coincidence that when you have a Super Bowl, that people, these advertisers spend millions and millions of dollars for 2 or 3 seconds.
Hmm.
That's not by coincidence. There has been scientific research and fact of how branding affect the subconscious mind, how that branding has been able to tap into a recall in your subconscious mind, and you don't even realize that it has been triggered. And when you have these brands that is powerful, that's constantly bombarding our images in our subconscious mind that we download that we don't even realize, it's not by coincidence that you at Red Lobster on Thursday eating a Red Lobster when you seen a commercial Sunday night and in your subconscious mind, it was triggered that that's where I'm going. They understand that. They understand the power of image. They understand the power of branding and the psychology, the psychological effect that it has on people. That's why everybody do the same thing based on what a celebrity wears. So that part, the scientific aspect behind branding, the subconscious mind, and how people react as opposed to respond, it is a very powerful science to understand when it comes to marketing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as soon as we get off of this call here, there's going to be something in everybody in our feeds.
Absolutely.
Always listening.
Yes.
I know when I watch commercials about food, I'm hungry and I'm not hungry. Yeah, I wasn't hungry when I was, before I watched it. Now I am. Now I'm going to get some food.
Yes. Absolutely.
And so, yeah, social media, it's got it down to a science. Like my feed is wigs, weight loss, wedding, things like that. You know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? It's just all those. So it's like, but it works. It does work.
Well, so as a business owner, you have to tap into that same ways. What if you don't have a brand or don't believe you have a brand, then of course you can't tap into the science that already exists and many other people have already figured out. I'll give you an example. So when I woke up this morning, I started on my hour of power, which is my meditation prayer and then exercise. And when I got done doing that, I'm getting ready to do my protein smoothie. And I'm flipping on my phone because I'm looking for the next thing that I'm going to listen to, and Tony Robbins commercial came on. And, you can pass it. You can skip it. After 10 seconds, you can skip it. I listened to probably 40 seconds of it because he said to-do lists are bad. You shouldn't do to-do lists. Instead, you need to ask the right question. And it's like, but that's how it works now. And we know that that's the way it's going to be. And I already know as soon as we get off this call, you're going to get that same Tony Robbins thing. So let's
I
ask this
sure
question.
have an email.
Yeah, see, it's crazy. What are some of the small signals that can make people say, I trust this brand?
I would say consistency across your platforms. And then if I'm looking for a service, I'm just looking at their, social, their website, just does everything make sense? I think that's the biggest thing is consistency. Because you can be a business one day, but you might have touched a whole lot of people. So it's, who's talking about you when you're not in the room that attracts me.
And so I give you an example on based on what you said, consistency and the psychological aspect behind that. One of the things that Angela and I know and understand the power of branding. That's why we're sitting here with our detailed expert shirts on. We
Hmm.
use ourselves as a brand. Now, psychologically, people probably don't think about it, but it's
Hmm.
downloaded in their mind. When they see us with our white shirts and when they see us with our name on our shirts, and when they see us how we are dressed, we're constantly bombarding the marketplace with detail expert in small, subtle ways. And it
Absolutely.
works. So even if, we're into the detailing business. We're franchise owners, we're franchisors, but it's really interesting how we've been able to pivot and build new relationships doing something different, but we still have our brand name where we got into the cleaning industry, we got into the water purification industry, but we still have that name brand that is in the subconscious mind of our client. But this is the next and most important thing is the relationships that we build with our clients, is the
Hmm.
relationship that we build with our employees, is the relationship that we build with each other. You know, all of those things goes into being an entrepreneur. So it just doesn't stop. And branding and image, when people are asleep, you have to be woke. When people are
Yeah.
woke, you have to be thinking and being in a strategy way because the mind, the subconscious mind, is so powerful. That is where we really make the decisions based on what we're going to do today, tomorrow, whether we realize it or not. So being able to tap into that psychology as a business owner in any small way we possibly could, that's the things that we think about and we talk through when it comes to building our business and our brand.
Absolutely. The relationships is number one. And for me, I used to train the art of not selling. Gotta build the relationship. If you build the relation, and sometimes those relationships take a long time for somebody to say yes, but when they do, it comes tenfold. And so that's things I do for my clients is introduce them to people that can help them scale their business or, maybe they need their services. So relationship building is huge.
Yeah, it definitely matters. So technology is often the first interaction someone has with your brand. What mistakes do entrepreneurs and startups make when it comes to visuals? And
They don't, it's the messaging, right? Like they don't have the same messages, their pictures aren't clear. You don't know what they're selling, or it's too much verbiage. It's all of those things that mess with me. I'm not gonna name any names.
no, no names, no names.
Yeah, it drives me crazy because people just don't know how to less is more at this point. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's the messaging, the visuals. It just doesn't make sense.
So in this digital world where first impressions happen online, let's talk a little bit about visual storytelling and its impact on revenue.
Visual storytelling. I mean, it can have a huge impact. If you take a photo, you post a photo and you're like this, what you say? What you gonna get? Nobody wants to even talk to you because you're already closed off. But if you have, I can make a carousel of what just out of pictures, just what maybe I did today,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And put the right music. Now people are like, oh, That's nice. Okay. So I think that what you put out there will affect what you bring home
Mhm.
for sure. So you have to have the right look, the right feel, and not just be posting anything.
Mhm. Mhm.
People are watching.
Yep.
Like for real, for real. They really are.
Even the ones that don't mention that they're watching, they're watching.
Oh, they're watching. They're watching for real. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So what's the difference between content and strategy?
So anybody can make some content, right?
Mhm.
Anybody can make content, but when you have a plan, it makes the content better. So I
Mhm.
don't call it content, I call it storytelling,
Got it.
right? So anybody can do that, but a strategy is planning. When you gonna make the post? Well, now you can use AI to say, "Hey, when is the best time for me to post blah 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 blah." Now you have a plan.
Mhm.
So content is content, but if it doesn't align with what you're doing, it doesn't make sense. And nobody wants just content. They wanna
Right.
know they wanna have a beginning, middle, and an end.
So you mentioned storytelling. You mentioned the brand is being the logo and the photos, etc. What else is important?
The consistency, because for branding alone, because it's your story. So it's your identity, what you wanna project to the world. I think if you think about Jiffy peanut butter, right?
Mhm.
Or, the 877 Cash Now commercial or wall side windows saying, those are all things that they have branded and embedded into Stanley Steamer. Who else you calling besides Stanley Steamer?
Absolutely.
1-800, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's what a brand is because we're still talking about it. You know, Jif has been out for since I was a kid. They're doing something right. The colors are right. The tone is right. You don't really see them doing any commercials. So it's just consistency and really understanding who you are as a brand and then how and what your identity is.
Yeah.
No, well, I'm just sitting back enjoying the conversations that we're having, and I'm
He's
enjoying
one of he's one of the listeners.
I am enjoying all of these nuggets of wisdom. But you know what I when I sum up this conversation when it comes to technology and branding and images and trust and belief, at the end of the day, is about choice.
Mhm.
You know, it's about feeling good about making a choice. And the two basic choices I think a lot of times in life that we have is we either choose fear or we choose love.
Mhm.
You know, but it's much harder to choose fear, to choose love over fear because there's so much the craving that's going on. But when you choose fear over love, you suffer. And when I talk about suffering, choosing fear over love is you continue to create these fearful stories that take you over and keep you unconscious and keep you from growing. But when you choose love over fear, then you find yourself in a position of surrendering and acceptance and transcending. And I think that the marketing, the business aspect of entrepreneurship, the marketing, all of it is one big ecosystem that I
Mhm.
think we need to be able to separate. We just got back from Texas and we did some training on design engineering,
Sorry, thinking.
design thinking. And it
Mhm.
was really all about to deconstruct and reconstruct to make it better. And that's what it's about in life.
Mhm.
It's all about deconstructing ourselves to reconstruct. And that's what faith, that's what belief, and those things are comes together in a way where we can evolve as human beings, use our gifts and talents to make the world a better place and enjoy this journey. And I think all of it fits together in a way when I look at it in a holistic perspective. And that's why I enjoy you, guests like you on our show, and entrepreneurs that have been through the fire and have been burned and been able to step back and look and figure out, okay, how do I go about achieving my goals? And that's what life is really all about.
Absolutely. I approach everything with love and I absolutely love what I do and I love building brands for my clients. I love it. I love seeing them evolve. It's like having a little kid
Yep.
and then they grow graduate, and I tell them all the time, like, "Oh man, you really growing up." But I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Anybody can market, right?
Mhm.
Few people know how to brand, and then even fewer people know how to protect the brand. So it's just that's why you gotta hire me, so I can bring
Speaking
you
of
out.
that, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Well, they can follow me at Robin Gamble Photography. You can Google that, or they can go on my website, robingamble.photography.com, and
Fantastic.
send me a note.
Robin, it has been such a joy having you on with us today. And it's so funny because you are funny, but you are a matter of fact.
I never used to be that way. Like, I was very shy, which is
Yeah.
it's funny that I'm even in this profession because, I don't mind being in front of the camera, but I enjoy being behind it. And
Yes.
so it's, when I'm encouraging clients that are scared to death, I'm like, "Girl, you're just like them." But I love it though. I'm like a coach, you just gotta keep
Yeah.
working and having people move forward.
That is wonderful. So we talked a lot about technology, trust, and transparency, and of course, faith and belief, and all of those things, which are super important. And you rounded it off like you handle your clients with love. We know that technology is evolving and new tools will become available day after day. So we're so excited that you were here. More details, please, to talk about technology. And until next time, we focus on those individuals that turn their passion into their purpose. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to More Details, Please, presented by Emmanuel and Angela Williams from Detail Experts, the mobile steam cleaning company dedicated to protecting the planet. Be sure to subscribe to More Details, Please on your favorite podcast platform. You can also follow us on Facebook at Detail Experts and visit detailexperts.net. That's DETAILXPERTS.net. We hope you've gained some valuable insights from our conversations today. Stay driven by curiosity, and we'll bring you more details